and space.
Kant is always asking this question: what must be the case for this to be true? What are the conditions that make this possible? And the first thing that Kant claims is that space and time are the universal forms of all intuitions. Space and time are the preconditions for experience, those inputs, to happen at all. And it doesn't come from the senses, from outside, because to even have sensations in the first place, we must have some kind of intuitive framework to receive them. This idea is the first stone laid in Kant's transcendental method.
Speaking of stones, for me to even experience an object, whether I see it, hear it, touch it, I must be able to place it in space, separate from other objects, and importantly as distinct in space from myself, as something separate from my consciousness. We have to have what Kant calls pure intuition, a framework of space and time that the experience can happen in.
Kant says,
space is not an empirical concept that has been drawn from outer experiences, because in order for certain sensations to be related to something outside me, the representation of space must already be their ground.
In other words, our experience of space is not something we learn empirically. It's presupposed to even have empirical experiences at all, because in order for us to even say something is over there, the over there-ness is assumed in the judgment. When I say this is over there, the very quality of this-ness must be recognised as something I've carved out in space. What am I doing when I say this? I'm delimiting this as a thing in space, separate from me, relative to other things. Time functions in the same way. For me to even understand that one thing follows another, for me to say something happened after something else, before and after are assumed in the recognising of a moment. We have to have carved out a period of thisness in time, a moment separate from other moments.
And so space and time are pure intuitions. They're the sea that everything else swims in. But we can learn something else from this too, something radical.
That this pure intuition is about being able to perceive particulars within a totality, about being able to recognise, carve out, select, pick out, designate a particular unit of space, in this case the stone, or a particular unit of time. Now, then, when. Again, a particular in a totality. For us to perceive the world at all, we must have an innate grasp of what is inside of us and outside of us, what is here and what's there, without which everything would be everywhere at once, and an innate sense of succession, of something following another thing in time, without which everything would happen at once.
What this assumes, to be able to distinguish points on these spectrums, is that we can splice them up, that I can locate, isolate, analyse, focus on single particular points. And this leads to another radical implication, a consequence of this.
That carving out units is the basis of mathematics. Once I can say one rock, or one moment in time, I can conceive of that being another unit, then another. Then I could add them together. I could multiply them, subtract them, divide them. So Kant says that the very idea of mathematics is presumed in having any experience